So, hello everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay. So, hello and welcome to my talk about method signatures. It's a short introduction. We have only 20 minutes, so let's get working. First of all, I want to tell you something about the motivation, why you can use method signatures, why I think it's cool, and why I'm standing here. Then we're going to go through a real-world example. I'm sure that everyone will find some similarities he can identify with. And we will go through a good-to-know session where I will tell you about the pros and caveats of this module. And at the end, we can have a Q&A section if you have questions. So, my name is Denis Banovic. I'm coming from Salzburg, and I work for the company named NCM. We are an internet agency in Salzburg with about 35 people, and we are hiring. So, if you are a Perl developer, well, probably, and if you would like to come to work to Austria, you're more than welcome to join our team. Okay, let's start. Motivation. What is method signatures and how can it help us? First of all, in Perl, when you pass parameters, you do a lot of unpacking, and you do a lot of validating of these parameters. So, for example, if you do something like this all the time, or this, then method signatures can help you a lot. So, how does it work? You get two new keywords. The first keyword is named func. So, right now you go and write some subroutine like this, and you see the getting the parameter, you have to do a shift. And with method signatures, you can basically do this, as you remember from C or Perl 6. The second keyword you have to remember is called method, and you know that you have to do the shift to get the self reference, and with method signatures you don't have to do that. It's there. So you get your reference to self by itself, just by using. So easy, right? So let's go to a real-world example. Let's say one of your developers has written write-only codes that look like this. So he just wanted to get the last 5 users from the database. No parameters, nothing. So at a certain point of time, you say, okay, we need to optimize this function, and then you add some parameters. Just notice you shouldn't do this like that, because SQL injection and all this. But someone just goes and creates this. You have your arguments here that you get out of the array, and you just put the string together and have a function. Well, and then you go and start doing validation of all the parameters, and you start doing default values and so on. And then you start doing validation of if it's an integer, checking if it's the correct type, and so on. And after a few iterations, the codes look like this, or even longer. And basically, all you're doing is validating the parameters. So there's more than one way to do it. This is how you can do it with method signatures. So basically, method signatures borrows a lot of its syntax from Perl 6. So it's a good thing, I think. So let's, I want to show you by example how this works. So let's go. First parameter that I defined says integer, double point, group, exclamation mark, is RO. What does it mean? First, the integer means we're going to do a type checking of this parameter. So if you pass something that is not integer or cannot be casted into an integer, then the method signature is going to throw an error. Second one that is really useful, the semicolon. Colon, sorry. Colon says it's a name parameter. So basically you have to pass it the same variable as this, or you have to pass it as a hash key in the call. Exclamation mark means this is a required parameter. So when this parameter is not passed, you're going to get an error. So it has to be that. And is RO means it's read only. And this says that you can't change this parameter in the function anymore. So if you go and change this variable, you're going to get an error. So the next parameter we have is the offset. I want to give an offset of my list, so I want to do paging. It's very useful. So we have an integer again, we have the color and a name parameter. And there are two ways to do default values in method signatures. I personally prefer the first one, and the difference between those two is the following. When you write it like this, the offset is set to 0 if it's not passed. So, but if you pass an undef value on this, it's not going to be 0, it's going to be undef. And the second one is going to be 0, or the first, or here. This means it's going to be 0 even if you pass an undef. So this is different. By the way, I didn't mention, if someone has any questions in between, so just raise your hand. So the next parameter we have is the limit. And the interesting thing here is you can give it a range. So I say I want to limit the limit, and it has to be in between 1 and 200. So no one can ask for 10,000 rows. And the same thing is if it doesn't fit in there, or if it's under, it's going to be 10. So the next one is order by, and in the order by we have something similar like the range, but here it's just a set of valid values, and so you can basically check if it's ID, username, or group. And if it's not, it's going to be ID, and if it's under, it's going to be ID also. And the last one is order type. It's very similar to that. Yeah, that's about the real world example. And now we're going to go through the good to know. So first of all, you need to remember the parameter validation is on runtime. You're going to get only a compile error when you do some syntax error. So checking of the parameters is going to be only on one runtime. all the parameters, as is standard in Perl 5, are going to be copies. So if you pass a parameter, it's going to create a copy of it. So think of it when you passing a big string. In Perl 6, of course, it's different. In Perl 6, everything is an object or a pointer. But of course, you can pass a nice parameter, and it gets even better. You can do stuff like this. So the interesting thing here is if you pass a reference to the array foo, you can access this reference with its name, and you don't have to do a dereferencing of it. So it's I know that in Perl 18 or something we've changed it. So that's about this. Second, you don't really get the runtime performance penalty, except for the validation checking, like if you would do it by yourself. And when you do the type checking, it's the same like if you do a moves you do type constraints. So you can check most of the type constraints that you can check in the method signatures are the same as here in this module. So you can look it up. And the method signatures is written without any source filters. So your code is still going to be stable for production and so on. So don't worry about that. And of course, there's a method signature simple. So if you don't want so much overhead, take a look on the simple module, and this is going to suit your needs. So that's about it. It's just a short introduction. I'm happy to answer any questions which you might have. Sure.
Does the where clauses use smart matching?
Yes.
And if so, do you get the deprecation warnings if you use Perl 5.18?
So the question is, does where clause use does it have smart matching? Yeah. So it's definitely a yes. So you can do a ready access and similar stuff on that. So no problem. The second part was?
Smart matching is like deprecated or considered experimental in Perl 5.18, and you get warnings. So is there something you want to do about that? Or anybody wants to do about that?
I can't answer that because I didn't use Perl 5.18 yet.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
This isn't the question really, but I'm a competitor, basically. If you're using 5.14 or newer, I recommend function parameters, which is another module that does more or less the same thing, but it works without warnings on all newer Perls. And I just checked, method signatures has about 8 or 9 open bugs related to, among other things, corrupting line numbers of your file. That is, if you use method signatures, you may get, let's say, an exception from die or an internal Perl error, and it has the wrong line number attached.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
This is
from time to time.
horrible in production because you get an exception or an error and you look it up and the line makes no sense because it's just not there. That's my major problem with method signatures, and basically all modules that use deval declare. It's an inherent problem. And the reason function parameters does not have this problem is also why it requires 5.14, because it uses a new API for pluggable keywords in the Perl core.
Function parameters is too sweet.
So let me say this to the audience. There's another module in Perl that does the same. It's called function parameters, and you can look it up on cPan and compare. Okay. There were more questions?
Can you generate anonymous functions a bit?
Yeah, sure.
And do you have what kind of performance penalty at runtime for those? Same?
Basically the same.